My name's Dan McKinley, and I'm the general manager of Broughton Land Company, which is a large farm in Columbia County in Washington, southeastern Washington. We're up in the middle of a big part of our land that we farm, and we're up here in the middle of a wind farm. We're almost at 3,000 feet here. And this is pretty much the heart of our farm ground. We farm 12,000 acres ourselves. We have a couple thousand acres of CRP. We have about 15,000 acres of rangeland, and we run 800 head of cattle on that. We also have some timberland. This is the southern end of the Palouse soils. And so this is a true Palouse soil right here. As we get farther west, it's more of an Athena silt loam soil. Yeah, we're mainly wheat. We grow about half of our land is in winter wheat every year. And the other half we put it in spring grains, spring wheat, spring barley, and we grow quite a few peas. We're mainly considered direct seeders. After we harvest this pea crop, we'll just come in and shank fertilizer and seed with a no-till drill right into the unworked ground. And we do most of that on all of our land, just using rotations and direct seeding. With this, we don't do near the tillage we used to, but we do a lot more spraying, use a lot of Roundup and to kill the weeds prior to us going out and planting the crops. Well, in the past, before we had got this Apache, we ran 3 pole sprayers that we'd hook behind our tractors, and they were usually 80 feet wide, and you usually had one guy running a nurse truck to that for those 2 to 3 sprayers. So I had 4 guys at times tied up doing our spray operations. We also relied quite heavily on aerial application because we have so much land. We couldn't do it all of ourselves, and so we were always trying to help ourselves out with some aerial application where they could help us. Well, since we got these wind turbines, the aerial application, they don't like to fly around them, and I don't blame them. I was in a helicopter, and those are very intimidating when you're up close to one. And so we weren't getting our bugs sprayed in our peas on time. I'd like to do some pre-harvest Roundup at times, and timing is really crucial. So we were running into all sorts of those problems, and we went ahead, and a neighbor of mine had the same problem because of windmills, and he tried an Apache, and he let me drive it, and I was really impressed with the rig, and we decided we would buy one and try it on the farm, and it has turned out really well. I do most of the winter wheat spraying by myself now. I'll have a guy come and get my nurse truck sometime during the day. We can do about 400 acres with every truckload, and so as long as I start out the day with a full truckload and have someone come and fill my truck for me partway through the day, I can do 800 acres pretty easy by myself. And it used to be that would take at least two other tractors and 2 pole sprayers and 3 men. And so we've really cut it down to just the Apache sprayer, and I'd say 1 1/4 men to do what we were doing with before. So that's been a pretty positive thing about it. I have watched some of the other self-propelled sprayers, and they look like they're very big and heavy, and they have hydraulic motors that run all of the tires, and they're 4-wheel drive. The soil up here has got clay in it and stuff, and it's usually wet in the spring, and so we want to be light, and I think it's the lightest machine, and we don't want breakdowns. And I've heard real positive things about breakdowns on it. It's got a posi track and a direct drive, and it's got a good engine, and Apache's been in business a long time, and they've got a great suspended boom system. And so, you know, I really can't compare to some other guys because this is the first one we tried, and I liked it, and so we thought, you know, it's close, there's a dealer, let's try it. Pioneer had a school, a 1-day school that we went down to, and that was very beneficial for them to understand how the system works. To drive it is pretty simple. It hasn't been hard to teach them, you know, having them understand how to program the fields and things, you know. I've got a 63-year-old that I taught how to do it, and he's not very computer savvy, and he was scared to death, and he runs it, and he likes doing it. So it's really user-friendly. I've looked at the Viper, and I used to have Sightwinder and all these other things, and I'm not that computer literate myself, but I caught on to this real quick. And so the Topcom system is what we're using, and I'd recommend it to anybody. Well, I was scared to death the first time I took off over a hill. Ours is a 1210, it has a 1,200 gallon tank, and when you're full, you know it. So we have learned that if you have the opportunity to fill up, you can, but you got to go and get at least half the load down. If you get under 500 gallons, as long as I got good footing, I have no problem whatsoever going on any of our land. And when I first got it, I said, well, we're only going to be able to spray about 80% of our land. But we've literally done, I think we've been over every acre. Now, in the spring, when we first start out, it's really wet here. And because of all of the winter rain, all of our moisture comes here in the wintertime. And we need to get out and put on pre-Roundup and cover quite a few acres. And the Apache, I guess it's only being two-wheel drive. When you're on a steep hillside, going across a steep hillside or in on a pole, it'll have the tendency to spin out and just slide the rear end downhill on you. But once you get to this time of year and you have firm footing, it's done really good. We've had to learn to spray a little different than what we used to do. With our four-wheel drive big tractors, you just go round and around the field because they will stay on the hillside. They have enough horsepower and enough traction that they'll stay on any hillside. I mean, they might tear it up a little bit. But we found instead of going across the hill, you're better off to kind of go up it at an angle and down it at an angle. So you're always kind of in a pull or going downhill. That side hill is its hardest for it. Except in firm ground, it'll side hill pretty good. We got it last fall and we put the balloon tires on it, and so they're kind of wobbly a little bit, so we just keep it 30 miles an hour and under. But it's great to move. I mean, our other tractors only go about 20 miles an hour down the road, and so it seems like it's a huge saving, that extra 10 miles an hour to move up and down the road. I think when we put the skinny tires back on now, I think it'll move even better down the road and steer better. But anyway, it's slick. The fold-up system, that is just so nice that you can fold it up and everything from the cab, and takes, you know, under a minute to do it. They've done a great job of designing that. Well, I highly recommend the Auto Boom and the Auto Steer. My neighbor who bought one last year does not have that, and that's the one I drove, and I was so busy watching my booms and, you know, making sure that I wasn't going to get into the ground, because you go through a valley and with a long boom sticking out there, you know, it'll catch up to you. And then I was having a hard time you know, watching the screen and watching where I'm going and everything, and of course you get better with that at time, but with the Auto Steer, you know, we've learned now to make a couple rounds around the field, find the best line that you can go back and forth on, and let that thing steer itself. Then you can watch your booms and you know, adjust them, and pay more attention to the terrain when you're coming into a swale, that you can, if you're trying to keep speed, the Auto Boom doesn't track quick enough. I mean, if you're going 13 miles an hour and you're coming into a pretty stark dip, you got to override it and get it a little higher, otherwise it's going to hit the ground on you. So it's taken all the stress off of trying to find your mark, or, you know, watching the screen and being able to make sure your pressure's right. You like your boom height and everything, and then also when you're coming into these critical areas where you're going to go through, you can override the system and get your booms up and go through it and then set it back into place, and I wouldn't do it without them. We've really had very little trouble. We had a kingpin brake, the left front wheel. I guess there was 4 of them up here this spring, and it was always the left front one. And I was crossing a ditch, and it was a little wet, and I was probably going a little too fast, and I broke it right off. We've had a few little computer glitches at first with the auto steering, and I can't remember, there may have been some other things, but they've had good people. They've been real responsive in getting back to us, and we've literally had very little trouble at all. Yeah, the cab is real nice. The ride is superior. In fact, that's probably why I broke that front kingpin, was you can go across the ditch and you hardly feel it. And it's got such a good shock absorbing system that you don't realize how hard you're probably being on that. I know if I would have tried to take a real tractor across there at the speed I did, I would have jarred my teeth. And I was just thinking, well, this machine is incredible. Well, it's a great ride, and it makes it so the booms stay nice and steady in the field. but it's not invincible either. You can't just go bouncing across a 2-foot ditch and think that it's going to make it every time, because it won't. Our overrun is consistently 5%. It used to be consistently 10 to 15%. So with the automatic boom shut off, it's amazing. I mean, if we have a 700-acre field to go do, you can just tell yourself, well, add 5%, and when you're done, you've got maybe 10 gallons in the tank. It has been that accurate, and regardless of the terrain even, it seems like it's just always a 5% overrun, so that's been good. I haven't had a chance to check the fuel on it. I did when I first rented the one last year. I did 700 acres, and I think I used right at 100 gallons of fuel. And so I figured it out even last year when fuel was I think we were paying $4 a gallon. It was about $1 an acre for fuel. And that's pretty darn good. It has a nice pattern. We got nice spray nozzles that keep our drift down. I've been getting excellent weed control, You know, the trick to farming here is getting your crop in on time. And in the past, where I had to pull tractors away from maybe seeding or fertilizing or doing some ground prep to go do spraying, it was always a juggle with myself. Okay, should I spray or should I be getting the crop in, you know, because both of them needed to be done. And so that has eliminated that decision now, that I can keep those tractors on task of getting the planting done. We always in the past have rented a tractor in the spring, especially if it was rainy and getting delayed. This year was one of our latest starts, and we didn't rent another tractor at all because we were kind of counting on this Apache to carry the load, and it has. Well, I tell them that we're real pleased with it. You know, I also have a full-time mechanic, and he was a big part of this. He goes, I like this machine. It's simple. It doesn't have a whole bunch of hydraulics and hydrostatic power. So he likes the direct drive. He goes, I think this will be the least maintenance machine we can get, you know, so let's try it. And so far we've been pleased. And so I recommend them to other guys right now. Wouldn't have it any other way.